Hello and welcome to the Newsfeed Talk Show edition. I'm Henry Skutt.
And I'm Corey Van Dyke. Food insecurity is something we may often overlook on Virginia Tech's campus.
A recent study shows that 1 in every 3 students is subject to food insecurity, and a few Hokies are looking to help change that statistic.
Today we will be speaking with a researcher of the study, a student looking to raise money to help the cause, and learning the ins and outs of how you can get involved.
But before we get to our guests, we want to give you a look at how students are reacting to the study. Newsfeed reporter George Stiles joins us live in the newsroom. George, were students aware about all of this?
Henry, they were overall pretty shocked to hear about how many students here at Virginia Tech experience low food security. I was able to ask those around campus what their initial reactions were to hearing about the study.
I think that's very sad. I didn't know that there were so many people affected by something so common. I mean, I knew that Montgomery County suffered a lot with food security issues and obesity among those, but I didn't know that it was happening on our own campus.
I know it's a problem, but I never thought it was that prominent. I'm surprised it's not more public that people know that.
And another feeling I have about that is that's also not acceptable. I feel like everyone should have food security. Everyone shouldn't have to be worried about whether they can put food on their table.
That's really surprising. I would never have guessed it was like that many people, and I feel like I don't ever see anything advertised about helping that kind of population.
You know, it makes me question whether or not like the university officials know the situation, or if like there's been like a lot of issues addressed.
To be honest, I think it's a little sad and disappointing. I think Tech has responsibility to their students to take care of them after they already spend so much money here.
I mean, it's kind of crazy how like you don't think about it, like people like skip meals and stuff. Like people actually are like struggling, like not getting food. So it's kind of, it's just good to bring awareness to it.
I wish I could do more things to help and find other ways to help them.
As you can see, students were not very aware of the study, but they are looking to help those in need. Reporting for the Newsfeed, I'm George Stiles. Back to you guys in the studio.
To dive a little deeper into this discussion, we're bringing into the studio some of the guests.
Joining us now is food access researcher Jessica Agnew and co-founder of Food Access for Students on Ragmonta. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So let's start off with the basics. Talk to us, if you would, what does low food security mean?
Sure. So in this study, we used the U.S. Department of Agriculture instrument for measuring food security. And so they have 4 classifications of food secure individuals. So low food security refers more to disruptions in the diet, lack of access to preferred foods. So this might be cultural foods. It can mean disruptions in the diet, which means you move from being food secure to low food secure to high food secure. And then very low food security refers more generally to people who are actually experiencing hunger from a lack of access to calories and just in general the types of foods they need. So there's an important distinction between very low and low food security students.
And when George talked to students around campus, that was kind of what he was asking about, is were they aware of kind of the situation that is on campus was, and not a lot of people were.
Right.
Is that a pretty common theme that you ran into while conducting the study, is that not a lot of students were aware of that? Was that an aspect of your study at all?
I think in general it's interesting. So my area of research is in food security, and when I say food security, people very often don't really know what that means. I think they think of food safety, you know, getting sick from foods, but they don't really think of it in terms of being secure in your status in order to have the types of foods you need for a healthy lifestyle.
And Anurag, you're part of the group Food Access for Students. You guys started a GoFundMe in kind of a response to this study. You even in the GoFundMe kind of description talk about that this has been an issue. You guys have been in conversation with Virginia Tech since 2018. Why does this issue kind of mean so much to you?
So I came to Virginia Tech in fall of 2014 as an unfunded graduate student. So coming from India, that meant that I had to pay tuition out of state with the exchange rate involved. So, and part of coming to Virginia Tech means that you have to certify that your family is able to support you to attend Virginia Tech and pay 1 year's worth of tuition. So when I did need help in the first year to buy food, because I had no on-campus job, I wasn't allowed to hold a job and I was unfunded, I I was afraid that the fact that I had to certify that my family has enough funds could be used against me. So I personally face this issue, and I have interacted with many students, undergraduate, graduate, at various levels around the Blacksburg campus and elsewhere who have faced this issue. So I wanted to do something about it.
And what has that kind of response been like when you've interacted with these people that have kind of faced similar issue like you've gone through?
So we haven't actually talked to people who have faced this issue since we started the GoFundMe campaign. But the response from the community who have contributed to the campaign has been phenomenal, and it has actually humbled us and made us aware of the indication from the community that this cause is important to them as well.
And for both of you, when that study, was published and you were hearing initial reactions to the study and what that is, announcing on campus, what was your personal initial reactions to that? And then was that a common sort of reaction when you're talking to other people that were involved with the study at all?
Right, so this study actually started in response to other food security studies that have been conducted on campuses throughout the US. And so it was interesting to see that we have about the same percentage as other institutions, about around 30%. But also knowing Virginia Tech is sort of caters to a little bit of a higher income, I think. It was interesting to see that it was so high. But I think some of the most surprising things that we found is some of the reasons why people are food insecure beyond just money, which I think is a natural sort of assumption. So, but also the reasons why people who are very low or low food security status haven't actually reached out for help. So those types of things beyond just their classification from the study, reasons why they are having trouble accessing foods has been really sort of enlightening.
And what about you? How was your response?
Unfortunately, I was not surprised at looking at the results, although the study did give me technical wording for issues that I knew a lot of our peer students were facing. So it has helped me contribute more effectively in the academia because we like jargon, we like technical knowledge.
Yeah, and Jessica, you kind of talked about maybe a motivation of it was to compare it to other studies and see how Virginia Tech kind of compared, or maybe some other sort of motivations that kind of went along with it. What were some other kind of sources that you wanted to see throughout the study?
Sure, yeah. So the study was actually started, the concept behind it was started for a student study abroad that was going to be, I think, done in Malawi, with the intention that first we wanted students to see what studying food security issues was like here in the US, especially close to home at the Virginia Tech campus, and then to move to Malawi to study food security issues there. So the original intention was to involve students in the actual process of the study, but due to IRB and implementation, it didn't exactly happen that way. But in addition to being a PhD student, I'm a graduate assistant in the Center for International Research, Education, and Development. And the executive director had been to a workshop, an event, and found out about these studies that were going on campus and realized that it really is an important issue. And even though it wasn't going to work with the study abroad, that we really needed to study this at Virginia Tech and then start to move that up to the administration to figure out how we can address it here in Blacksburg.
I don't know, the GoFundMe raised about $7,500 in about a month. When you saw that come in, that response to that GoFundMe, what was your initial reaction to that? Are there any cool stories about people who are donating to the GoFundMe at all?
Yeah, so when we started the campaign, so we are a fairly new organization. We were registered on October 1, and then we started the GoFundMe campaign October 10, even though we didn't go public until a week after that. So really, it's between October 20 and today. So it's about 20 days. We have raised $7,500. So that was unexpected for sure, because we were expecting this to be a smaller campaign. People would donate, people who felt that this was an important cause, and then this would contribute to conversations. But essentially, it has snowballed from there just because of how phenomenal the response has been. And so there are part of the goal with the GoFundMe campaign, in addition to helping students, was to start these conversations. So thankfully, the study coming out and the GoFundMe campaign starting around the same time coincided well. And so that has galvanized a lot more support and conversations around the university.
And the marketing for the GoFundMe, is it just, pretty word of mouth for the GoFundMe? You didn't do anything big and blow out for the marketing or anything like that?
No, we did not do anything big. The only thing we did was I was invited by Dean Karen DePaul from the graduate school to attend the Commission on Graduate and Professional Studies and Policies meeting. So that meeting is attended by constituent groups from all around campus. And so they, when I announced this program, offered to share the story with folks within their constituent groups, and so it essentially snowballed from there.
Gosh, and you guys look at this. There are some programs in place to help out students that have low security here. Why do you think more students don't take advantage of this? What are sort of, I know we've kind of talked about the stigmas that are attached to that. What are some of those?
Well, interestingly, so only about 20% of people who were classified as food insecure have actually received some sort of assistance. And when we asked what the number one, or what the main reasons for that was, the top reason was that students felt other people needed assistance more than they did. So, I mean, I think that just sort of embodies the Virginia Tech student body and the way our community cares for each other. But I think it also does come back to a lack of awareness that just because you use assistance doesn't mean that somebody else can't use it as well.
And have you run into any of those kind of resources as part of this? Obviously, the GoFundMe is a great way of raising money, but are there any other ways that, as a graduate student, as a regular student, that could get involved with helping out a little bit on campus?
Absolutely. We are looking for all students at Virginia Tech to join our team. So currently it's just the two of us. And so if anybody is interested, they're welcome to join our team. We can talk about what the role might entail. And it is fairly low commitment at this point. We are also looking for people to share their stories with us so that we can contribute more effectively in conversations. So yeah, you can reach out to us through email. It's on our GoFundMe page.
Awesome. It's a great discussion right there. So food insecurity is an issue that affects the entire New River Valley community. Coming up, we're looking to break down the numbers to show how the community is tackling hunger.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll have you back in a little bit.
Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back to this special talk show edition of the Newsfeed.
We're tackling hunger in our community and how many may not know how or when they're getting their next meal.
Our previous guest touched on how serious hunger is on Virginia Tech's campus, but the issue affects more than just students.
We're now joined by our next guest who works with VT Engage, a center for service here on campus. We'd like to welcome Cass Church. Cass, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I'll start off the same way I started off with the other two. What is VT Engage on campus? What do they do? What do we got going on?
Yeah, so VT Engage is part of Student Affairs here at Virginia Tech, and we are the Center for Service Learning and Leadership Development.
And the campus kitchen deliveries, that's kind of one of the big things you guys do to tackle hunger here on campus. Would you just kind of explain how that started, what exactly it is?
Yeah, so Campus Kitchen started out of a national movement. Here at Tech, it started in 2015, and it really started with students being motivated to do something to address the amount of food waste that was happening on campus, along with the knowledge about the hunger that exists in the New River Valley community. So what it looks like on the ground is we run two different sets of volunteers. We have students that commit to divert food, literally package up unused, high quality food from dining halls, and we have students that also commit to delivering food, and so they are the ones who are picking up and delivering that food from our dining halls to food pantries and community organizations throughout the New River Valley.
That was going to be one of my questions in context of, we're a big campus and there's a lot of food and there's a lot of good food, but how much, I don't know if you could put it in per day or per week or something like that, but how much food waste is repackaged, repurposed, and then sent out to the community?
Yeah, well, we like to celebrate that so far we've diverted over 150,000 pounds of food, which is the equivalent of 23 female African elephants. So that's our big point there. But on the ground, it looks like hundreds of pounds of food every week being diverted 6 times a week.
Coming up, we'll tell you how you can live out Ut Prosum on campus to help students who are facing food insecurity.
Plus, we'll bring back all our guests to hear their final thoughts. All this and more coming up after the break.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover their unique mix of all kinds of traits.
Where'd Wiley go? Where's Wiley? Ah, there she is. Paw?
Do you remember being an ancient wolf? Do you ever feel the call of the wild?
You're a renegade cop, and I'm a con woman with nothing to prove. But together, we could really solve this murder.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but all of them are pure love.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
We've had the pleasure of speaking with our guests about the issue and how some are pushing for change.
Newsfeed reporter Robbie Fletcher spoke with Virginia Tech students about how they're hoping to combat food insecurity in our area.
While Virginia Tech is known to have some of the best on-campus dining in the country, there's still a problem with making sure that students are getting enough of that food on a consistent basis. A recent study done at Virginia Tech shows that 29% of undergrads and 35% of graduate students are considered to have low food security. These findings have sparked much-needed awareness on campus as student-based programs are aiming to help alleviate the concerns of student eating habits. Ellie Hayden, the president of Food Justice, a club with goals to educate students about sustainable sourcing and food security, discussed this issue and how Food Justice members are doing their part to help.
I think that there's a lot of things that play into food security, like time and transportation. So I think that not even just working with the dining halls here, but even working with the Blacksburg Transit to make sure that buses are running enough for students to be able to take the bus to a grocery store and get food on the weekends.
Food Justice isn't the only on-campus organization doing their part in solving the issue, though. VT Engage, Virginia Tech's service-leading center, helps through its Campus Kitchen program.
Yeah, I know Campus Kitchen, the main job is to divert food from dining halls to near communities. So Campus Kitchen main role is to help solve or address the food insecurity issue within the New River Valley.
Despite this still being an issue that'll take a lot of effort from all parties hoping to raise food security at Virginia Tech, it appears the student body is making sure to do its part in helping to diminish hunger on campus. This is Robbie Fletcher reporting for the Newsfeed.
Now that we've dove into the issue and how others are working to fix it, we want to turn to all 3 of our guests to discuss a little bit more, and we'll wrap it up here a little bit, and we'll stay with you here, Cass. Just first off, when you're looking at how VT Engage has gotten involved, you said it started in 2014, 2015, so it's been several years now. Is there a certain next step that you might be planning on, or you're looking forward to in terms of the food reuse and giving back to the community, or is it just stay the status quo, it's being successful?
Well, we certainly want to maintain where we are.
Sure,
so that's
absolutely,
for sure.
yeah.
But obviously moving towards increasing our capacity. And so, part of that move was also bringing on, I said it started as a student-run organization, So Tech has created a position of a professional staff person to support Campus Kitchen. And so the idea of so long as there's more food to divert, how can we keep working to build our capacity so that we can divert more food? Also, how can we grow our partners? Because we are kind of at our max of 6 shifts right now. But certainly we know that there are more food pantries, there are more people in the New River Valley who could benefit from that diverted food.
Yeah, and Jessica, one thing we didn't get to in the beginning there was talking about how there are certain segments of campus in your study that are shown they're more susceptible, they're more vulnerable to food insecurity. What did these findings kind of show throughout your study, and I guess what is kind of the bigger picture with all of that?
Right, I think, so again, it was very comparable to other institutions across the U.S., but there are certain racial and ethnic groups that are maybe more vulnerable to low food security, but also students who need to access finances that need to be repaid, like Anurag was mentioning. I mean, even myself as a graduate student, the only reason I'm not food insecure is because I have, you know, a loan that sort of helps make ends meet. But also things like disability status and GPA is closely related with food security as well. So these issues are very linked together, and we need to not just make sure that food is more accessible, but that we're able to sort of take an equity sort of stance where we can target groups that are more vulnerable to make sure they're getting the food that they need.
Anurag, we mentioned the money that was raised through the GoFundMe, and it's a pretty decent amount of money there. What is the next step for that GoFundMe, that money? Where is that going to go? How long is that GoFundMe going to stay open? What are the future plans for that?
So we started off with a $10,000 goal, and we are hoping to meet that pretty soon here. So the reason why we started the GoFundMe campaign was because we wanted to start a short-term assistance program for students who are food insecure. So the idea is that it is a referral program where students would express the need to some office or entity around campus who interfaces with students on a daily basis, and they would refer them to us. So all the money that we have raised on the GoFundMe campaign currently is going to support buying grocery cards to give out to students as they come to us being referred by people around campus. Future plans include potentially exploring starting a food pantry on campus. Virginia Tech currently does not have an on-campus food pantry. Our peer institutions in the state, University of Virginia, Virginia Commonwealth University, William and Mary, all have food pantries supported by the university on campus, open to the community. So that would be the logical next step, and we are already in talks with the university to proceed down that path.
And would that food pantry be would that be like a student-run organization, or would that be more of a university-centric kind of department, you know, run by university employees?
So we are trying to model this on the very successful RAM pantry run at Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU. And it started off as a student organization, but now they are housed within the Dean of Students office. At Virginia Tech, there is this perception that the Division of Student Affairs has predominantly handled issues related to Blacksburg undergraduate students. So we want this program to be inclusive. And so at Virginia Tech, we have an Office of University Ombuds. And that would be a perfect office to house this program in, because the mission of that office to be confidential, impartial, and independent is similar to the mission of this food pantry as well.
And Cass, we'll come back to you. When you look at the campus kitchen deliveries, is there maybe a favorite part of it, a moment that kind of sticks out for you during your time throughout these years working in it?
I think the favorite part for me is the student buy-in. It's really been tremendous. We have wait lists for all of our shifts of students wanting to support us in delivery and diversion. And I think what's awesome is it's students who are motivated by issues of food insecurity, but also the environmental aspects of diverting wasted food. So it's really been tremendous, the support that we've gotten from students and staff faculty in Virginia Tech.
Has that kind of even shocked you a little bit that the student involvement is so high?
It has, and you know, I think what's really great to shout out to all of our delivery leaders and our diversion leaders, they commit to the semester. So they commit to a shift for the duration of the semester. And so every morning when I come in at 8 a.m. and the delivery leaders are there, it's tremendous. It's really great to have that commitment from students.
And I'll be remiss to ask, and we should have asked this a long time ago, how do students get involved with it? I know you said there's a wait list, but let's add more
opportunity.
people to the wait list. Yeah. So how do they go about signing up?
So they can start by checking out our website, BT Engage. Communicate with us if they are interested in making that semester-long commitment to be either a delivery or a diversion. So a student diverting is a student literally packaging up food within our dining halls that will be transported later. Or if they don't feel like that's the kind of commitment they want to make, students can always find our delivery shifts on Gobbler Connect, so they can sign up for a single or multiple deliveries with us.
And Jessica, I'll circle back to, I know we talked a little bit about on campus and maybe the pockets of more low food security. It seems like the study cited not a true lack, but somewhat of a lack of culturally acceptable foods in Blacksburg. Why is that, and what's the solution to that? Short term and then also long term.
Right, I think so. I mean, we have one grocery store in campus called Oasis, which is the World Food Market or something like that. So that's capturing a lot of different culturally relevant foods in one small grocery store. And maybe Anurag can comment more on this, but I know for friends of mine who are graduate students who are coming from Southeast Asia or the Middle East, trying to access foods that they know are part of their nutritious diet that's culturally acceptable to them can be very difficult to find. And so it can be then difficult in terms of thinking about how you're going to build a nutritious diet and foods that are relevant to you. So then you're having to look for foods elsewhere, but maybe you don't know how to cook those foods sometimes, or maybe you don't like those foods. And so that piece is a really important element of food security as well. It's not just pure hunger, but accessing those foods. So I think engaging with markets like Oasis to find out what support that they would need in order to sort of expand their range of foods, or maybe even talking to Kroger, who knows.
Yeah, and Anurag, what even is your kind of experience with that, with the lack of culturally acceptable foods? Is that kind of a problem you've even run into, you think?
Yeah, so Blacksburg and this area, unfortunately, is not accessible related to culturally appropriate foods for international students. And so Oasis, as Jessica has mentioned, is the only market in the area that caters to international foods, but then the selection there is fairly limited. And it is also expensive because there is no competition in the area. So the nearest place students can go to is World Markets in Roanoke. And so that brings up the fact that most international students at least, do not have a car. So there's not an easy way for them to access those markets in Roanoke for culturally appropriate foods. And so it is unfortunately a bad place to be in if you have dietary restrictions and want to access culturally appropriate foods. And that plays into the lack of food security that we have been talking about.
We'll wrap this up with one more question for you guys. We've talked about, it seems like there's a common goal of remedying this low food security on campus. Each of you, one thing that you want to see, could be near future, down the road, that you think will help the most, helping fix that low food security on campus. We'll start with you, Cass, and we'll just go right down the line.
I think as a first step or an initial strategy that would apply to many is just knowing what resources are available. So whether that be knowing local food pantries, knowing about Virginia students' emergency funding, knowing about SNAP benefits, if those are appropriate. So I think just increasing knowledge of resources.
I think building solutions that recognize that student food insecurity is its own unique sort of experience. You're also trying to manage class times, traveling around campus, which, as I'm sure you all know, can take 30 minutes from one end to the other. So I think really just understanding how students move through campus and move through Blacksburg, and then designing food access solutions will definitely be of great benefit.
Awesome. And that will wrap up this special edition of the Newsfeed. A big thank you to our guests for joining us today to explain how hunger is affecting our peers and community. If you have a story idea or event, or even a talk show idea for the Newsfeed, let us know. Send us an email at thenewsfeed@nrv.com, @gmail.com, and as always, you can connect with the Newsfeed on Facebook and Twitter.
Thanks for watching. I'm Henry Scott.
And I'm Corey Van Dyke.